live. All right, let me see what's happening here. I'm showing I'm active.
Okay.
Where you at?
We should be live.
It
It
looks
says
like
live on mine.
Oh my
we're
goodness.
live. We gotta put it on
Hey,
Thanks
speaker
be to
for
hey,
you.
hey,
you.
hey, we live, we live, we live.
Hey. I love that enthusiasm. It's great. I
Hello.
want to do it too. Hey, hey,
Hey, hey.
we're live, we're live, we're live.
Look, I'm leaning to the side. I'm on the other arm.
Well, you know, I'm right here.
You could do the one arm. You just do the pump, pump, pump.
We're
Yeah.
I did.
live.
Well, hi people. Hello. Hello.
What's
Hi,
up?
welcome, welcome, welcome to Bedtime Stories. Thank you for joining us. Tell a friend, hit like that little arrow or share. Tell a friend. We're here with some wonderful folks tonight. Um, so just remind them while we're getting started. I would love to introduce our guest, but first, let me tell you about this lady right next to me, Red.
Ah!
Hello.
Woo.
Hello. My name is Red and I'm from the Bronx. I'm so happy to be here and I'm glad you guys could join us. And so I'm Red and this lady over here, she is
Hi, I'm Sim Rose.
Woo, woo.
Red Rose, Red Rose, Red Rose.
That's right.
Hello. This is a Red Rose production, ladies and gentlemen.
It is a
Welcome
red.
to Bedtime Stories.
Sin, you didn't say where you are.
I live in Upper Manhattan, Uptown. I'm a Brooklyn
Okay.
girl, though. I'm
Okay.
from Brooklyn.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
DK, baby.
All right, but let's welcome our two wonderful guests who are joining us this evening. We're really super happy to have them here. I know I am thrilled and excited about what we're going to get into with these two gentlemen, Mr. Ian Friday and Mr. Carlos Sanchez.
Sanchez.
Carlos.
Sanchez, as Red said.
Right? I can't make anything Sanchez. I can't make anything roll in there.
That's my family.
Sanchez.
But I
Please
can
say
make
hello.
Carlos. Carlos.
The Carlos, yes.
Well, welcome guys. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for
And
having us.
fun. It should be fun. And yeah. So make sure I
We can
didn't
jump right into it. Why don't we just
we
start
can.
with our regular standard question. Start you off like why don't you tell the folks who don't know who you are? We know who you are. Why don't you tell the folks that don't know who you are, and why do you think that we invited you here tonight to Bedtime Stories? Tell us the thing. Either of
Go
you go
first.
first.
Who go first?
You can go.
You want me to
Fight,
go, Carlos? You want me to go?
fight.
All right.
Pick.
What's up, people? My
We
name
can
is.
hear you, Ian. You don't have to hold your thing.
I don't have to hold it like I feel like I can.
Right. You can say it like
Uh,
a cab driver 32,
yeah.
32, 32.
Right, right, right. My name is Ian Friday. I guess a resident DJ of Libation Party, New York City. I have a label called Global Soul Music. DJ, producer, artist, creative, and all of that. Um, I suppose that you guys asked me to be a part of this bedtime story because I've known both of you for so long in Clubland, and we have shared a few stories along the way. And so I guess I'm here to offer some of those stories to the people.
I like it. That's
Me
pretty
too.
accurate. I got a story about Ian. He used to
Oh,
have my phone number saved in his phone as Tony Touch. So every time I would call his phone, he'd be like, "Hey, Tony." I'm like, "This is not Tony." Hey, what up, bro?
what's up?
This is not
Oh,
bro.
yeah. Damn, it's true. That is true.
All right, how
Mhm.
about you, Carlos? Why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, hi. I'm a Brooklyn born, Brooklyn raised DJ from originated out of Brownsville, playing in the projects for pool parties and the PAL. And I graduated. I went to the village one day and got turned out by a sound system at this place called Duke's Dilemma. And we used to hang out in the village when I was a teenager. And we found out about other clubs that was parties around the city. I was a student, a music student, you know, voice major, high school music and art, studied theory. And I was around a lot of musicians, did a lot of performing as a teenager. And when I got into the club scene, that was all she wrote. I found my stick, you know, and
That leads me into like my first question usually for our guests is like, what is it that thing that made you
Turned you out.
like that turned you out, that made you a whole like, this become a part of your life? So what was that thing that what was it that happened to you that made that happen?
well, like I said, I had went to in the village to, and we were walking by Duke's Dilemma, and it was downstairs in the basement, right? And it's where Cafe Wa is now.
Okay.
It was called
Okay.
Duke's Dilemma,
Wow.
and I heard
What year do you
superstition
think this was?
emanating from the basement. The floor was shaking
Stevie
as we were
Wonder.
walking. Superstition.
Okay.
Now
Mm,
this was in the early. This is in the late 60s,
I was gonna say the
okay.
30s.
60,
Wow.
69, 70, you know, somewhere around there,
Okay.
you know, and I never heard sound like that. And we went down in the basement and I saw these voice of the theater speakers and I saw this contraption. I didn't know it was it was a mixer and turntables. And I said, well, this is something I've never seen before. And I started hanging out in the village and finding out about parties which at the Shaft and Richard Long's Loft and stuff like that. And we was going there and I was like amazed.
Mm.
And the scene was vibrant, it was beckoning, it was beaconing at that time, you know, and I was on the cusp of all of that in the very beginning, along with Larry and Frankie and, you know, Nicky Ciano and all of them. You know,
Nice.
so I was a fly on the wall. I was the musical nerd in the room,
Mm-hmm.
you know, sucking up all that energy, you know, preparing myself for when I got on the turntable. Yeah.
That must have
And
been a
And at
when
that
did
wild
time,
that
were
time.
you
happen?
like a
That,
dancer? Were you dancing around that
Right.
time?
Oh yes, honey. Ooh, hey, was I
Because I know
dancing?
I've seen you on many a dance floor
Honey,
now.
I was a dancer. All of us were dancers, you know. All of us were there. Larry was a dancer, and so was
mhm.
Frankie. We all danced. We all danced before we became DJs. So when I became a DJ, I started just shaking shoulders, you know, and pointing my hand out to the audience, like, yes. I didn't dance as much when I became a DJ.
Well,
But
that's
that's
what
not true.
happened.
That's not true though. Because if I go to a party and I get turned out by a DJ, I will dance.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it takes a little more for me to get up and move
To
it.
warm up.
To get
Mhm.
free.
To
To
warm
get
up to the
free.
band, honey.
You know,
Warm up.
I can still cut a rug at 60, 65 years old now.
Look at you. Look
Yeah,
at you.
well,
All
Look
right,
at
you
65
look
you.
years old, that
fabulous.
skin is giving us life goals.
Look at
Okay, you
you.
look fabulous.
Look at
Thank
you.
you.
I want to know, Ian, the same question for you. Like, what was it that turned you out? Turned you out. What was
Uh,
it?
what what turned me out? So in college, all the seniors were garage heads, and so I don't know if you guys. Well, I'm sure you guys know Milton Cornwall, right?
Yes.
We went to the same college. He was a senior and I was a freshman. So if we were going to party, because college part of college was partying, we had to hear this music. He was wearing baggy pants and capizios, and you're like, "What's
Capizio.
that?" Um, and they took us to the garage, right? And I guess one of the powerful things about that time is that Larry was programming New York radio. So, I mean, I had loved Don't Make Me Wait, Peach Boys, because I heard it on the radio. I mean, I was too young to go to a club. I mean, I wasn't sneaking out my mama's house. I mean, I hear stories here where people sneak out of their mama's house, but this mama that I had, I wasn't sneaking out of her house to go to no club. so, so we went to the so Milton and the seniors they took us to the club. I guess one school break, and walking up the ramp and hearing a record I'd heard and that I loved on the radio played properly. Like you heard every
In the
nuance on the
system.
record
That in
on
the
that on
system, boy,
that
I'm
like
telling you.
the claps were just clapping in your soul. Um, and I think there was something just about how the party it felt like a community. Um, because like going to school at that time, partying at that time was sort of when hip hop was coming up, dancehall was coming up. So at parties you hear all these different things. But like a hip hop themed party, though it would play club music, which we called it at the time, it had a different kind of vibration. Now I used to pop lock and all that stuff back in the day, like everybody else coming up in New
Go
York
by
City.
another
Prove
name.
it.
Did you have another name? It's like
uh,
Izzy I. I
I
don't know what.
mean, I know where you coming to, like where you from, what part of my life you're from, based on you calling me a particular name from back
Right.
in the day.
We can't know the name.
I'm not gonna offer that now. I'm
I
not
want
gonna
to know
offer
the
that
name.
now. Because the name that I have is the name that it is, but the name that I had then, for breakdancing and popping and all that. I mean, the
What do they
crew
call
was
you? Hot Poppet.
uh, the crew was called the Dynamic Body Mechanics at the
Oh
time.
wow! Did you
Oh,
have T-shirts?
Uh,
Dynamic mechanics.
now man,
Did y'all have
I mean,
sweatshirts or T-shirts with that name
we
on it?
kid, it's the '80s, so we had the gloves and the whole, the Adidas suits and the
Oh,
whole
that's
thing.
true.
You from
Um,
Brooklyn? You used to go get the at the flea market. Go get the Playboy bunny fuzzy, the fuzzy
I
old English
mean,
letters.
we gave the whole look, and like Carlos, I really came from the dance floor in terms of DJing, but really in terms of what turned me out to the music, to the scene, was going to the garage, and just how we partied in college. We took a lot of the energy, the vibe, and the music from the garage, from Zanzibar, because I went to the garage in the latter years, right? So I also wanted to go check out Tony Humphries and listen to Kiss FM when we can, Timmy on BLS, and just sort of, it was the music of young people, quite frankly. So the turnout was kind of easy. Just going to the club and the lights and all that just was an extension of what you was listening to on the radio at that time. And I just, you go to the club and you find your tribe. So the turnout is just finding your people. You know what I mean? Like y'all.
Hello.
Absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
I like it.
So, how
You,
did you get into DJing?
The DJing started before actually. I always big up this brother in high school from Ebbets Field, Timothy Snipes, Special T. We literally, we used to walk
I know you have
from.
one of them names. You don't want to tell me.
we
That's
used
my
to walk. We
specialty.
used to
You know
walk.
he had a name.
I did.
You're gonna
So
tell me later.
later,
I won't
later,
call
later,
you that.
later.
Only by
So
text.
we used to walk from East Flatbush to Ebbets Field just to watch dude cut and scratch. It was like Flash in Wild Style, in the kitchen, he was just cutting breaks, and I was just mesmerized by this artistic form. So that I bought some turntables, some Technique B100s, like everybody else at the time, a Gemini mixer, a Newmark mixer, and I just started practicing. But in college, I did college radio for my time in college. And so my DJing really happened there. And then when Milton and those cats graduated, we all would piece our records together because the party
What
is
school was
college.
this?
The
What
party
school
had
was
to
it?
keep going. Hmm?
What school?
With Wesleyan University in Connecticut.
Wesleyan.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
That's actually a big school. That's a Wesleyan University is a big school.
hmm. And that
Um,
school brought you to the garage. Interesting.
and he had
That
a radio
school
show.
had a radio show, Music for the People, the sounds of the city. Courts, turntables. But like I said, the seniors graduated, and then I started being like the college DJ, um, and that's really where the DJing thing started for me, and just loving it. I just loved the whole, whether or not it was watching cats rock, me playing myself. I just loved the whole art form,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning, like what people were doing, how creative they were, and how creative they are still.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
always tell DJs that I have no desire or nor would I ever like try to be a DJ. Like in terms of like looking at records and listening to records and mixing them, I could actually learn that skill. I know that. And I know
Hmm.
I could learn how to select music that
Hmm.
is gonna like drive an audience and all of that.
Right.
But I do not have the desire to like think three songs ahead and have somebody coming up to me and being like, yo, but you know what I had for dinner last night? This amazing restaurant. And I'm
Right.
like,
But sometimes you don't think 3 records ahead. I
You
mean,
know, I was
you
gonna
have
ask you guys.
successions of that. Sometimes you have records
yeah,
that that go together, but then there's something that comes to you just like pow. And
it's like coffee.
you have to dig
This
for
is
it and
perfect
get
right
it
here.
on there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys, the DJs. So I've been fooling around with my tractor because Cynthia won't, but I would be a DJ. But I would never call myself a DJ because I haven't put in the work. I'd be a musical selector. And I've been
Hmm.
fooling around with my tractor. And at no point do I ever think that I can think 3 records ahead because I don't know the music well enough. But I can listen and I can hear what can go together. So I was gonna say, do you guys always think that far ahead? But Carlos, you just kind of answer that. I'm like just on the fly, the feeling, the whatever. Yeah, I think that's
The
fun.
most important thing though is knowing your music.
Hmm.
Once you know what you have in your crates and you understand, you put them in a place where you can get to them, or you put them in files where you can get to them, and you can recall them when you need them, then they come together. Mind and
Hmm.
the technical part of it, the actual getting the record and putting on. You have to know what's in your crate. You have to know
Right.
your music. You have to
Right.
really
Because when
know
I
your
put on my
music.
music together, because I'm not even gonna pretend I'm gonna learn how to play CDs. I'm on a tractor. But when I put my music in, I was like, I have 6,000 songs.
And you
Hmm.
got to find out where they're at.
Right.
Right.
I
Right.
was like, so this is
Right.
why they need
I was like,
folders.
damn it, where is
Right.
Stevie Wonder?
Right. Right.
Where
Right.
is he?
Right.
And you don't need 600 songs for a party
6,000.
No, not at all.
or
No, I
6,000
6,000?
I was
songs.
Right.
just trying to
Right.
get them in order, and I was like, "There's 6,000 songs here, so we're gonna have to put these in order."
I mean, there have been times
Something
I
about
bought too
that.
many records. There have been times I bought too many records to a party and I get overwhelmed. I don't know what to
Sure.
play.
That happens too. That happens too, for
Now,
sure.
see,
Yeah,
that's
but do
the
you
thing I
find
wouldn't
in
think
the
happens.
age of like you carrying around like a USB or something like that, or that you just carry it all around now, right?
I mean, yeah, you carry a collection around, but I think just to echo something that Carlos said, it's like being a musician. You practice your scales, you practice, 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 so that when you get to the place where you can just improvise, that to me is the sweet spot. Like when you're playing live, and yes, sometimes you know what goes together, how to create a moment. But to me, the power of really being able to connect with an audience is to sort of be a portal, and not know, like when it's beyond thought, when the music starts to speak to you to say play me, and you just have to pull that record and play it, and it's the right song for the right moment,
Hmm.
and that power, that to me is like when God is in the room. You know what I mean?
And because you know your records so well, because you know your records well, you can like you can piece them together in your head.
Right.
Practically like you like this. Sometimes I pull a record out that I never played with another record, and it went together so seamlessly. It's like they was like made for each other.
Right.
And those are aha moments for me as a DJ, not for the audience only, but for me as a DJ. I'd be like,
Hmm.
that
That to
was
me,
over.
it, that to me is when
But how
God is
many records
in
do
the
you
building.
think, how many files do you think you actually have in your collection? Because I'm looking at the chat and they're like, or Sony is like, organizing is key. I'm like, I get that. Because how many files do you have? Like, how
I
many
don't
do
even,
you
I
think?
can't even count how many. I
Can't
mean, I've
even
been
count, right?
collecting for so long. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I've
mean,
been
I,
collecting
I,
ever since the digital,
What would, if you
ever
had a
since.
roundabout number that you gave, what would you
I
say?
can't, I can't,
20,000?
I
I
can't.
mean,
50,000?
you have a terabyte. I mean, that's thousands and thousands and
Right.
thousands of
That's
songs.
crazy.
And you keep on buying music, you keep on getting music, and it's not like a fixed number. Like it
And
continues to grow.
before that, it was
It,
CDs.
Right?
right.
right.
See, I
And
only knew how many because it's Tractor. Tractor is like, this is how
sure,
many songs are here.
sure.
But
Right.
you know what? I just had a moment while you guys were talking, and Ian, you saying, and God is in the room and all of that. It
Hmm.
made me realize that you guys have as much, as far as music goes, it's like almost as much skill as somebody that speaks a second language. That's how much
Mhm.
information that you are retaining. You are speaking a whole nother language, and that is like beyond the skill. The skill is the being able to play it, put it together. But what you're saying, the speaking the language, that's
Hmm.
really, that's
That's
something
a
else.
nice analogy.
I
Yeah.
think so. I was like, I'm
I
gonna
think
say this.
so.
That sounds, that's beautiful.
I think that that's my favorite kind of DJ that can do that. Is that, because there are lots of DJs out there that do their craft in different ways,
Hmm.
you know. And my favorite kinds of DJs are the ones that go in there and speak a language to me. They tell me a story.
Hmm.
They take me on a journey. I
That's
think,
the school I come from.
yeah.
So, did either of you come with a story to tell? Dun,
Well,
dun, dun. There's no pressure. I'm just checking. I'm just checking because if there was one, I definitely don't want to miss it.
Word.
Well, Carlos, you got a couple. I'm sure you got some stories now. Come on now.
oh man,
Yeah.
I got which one? What do you want to hear? I got garage stories. I got Larry stories. I got Frankie stories.
Tell us a different story.
Tell us your story with you in it, like a you
I
story.
I I was in when I was 17. I was in Job Corps,
Hmm.
and I used to play in the band. I play keyboards, and I used to play in the band in Job Corps. And that's where I met Boyd Jarvis.
Huh.
We were in Job Corps together.
Wow, that's
And
crazy.
Boyd,
That's
later on, Boyd would tell people that he played keyboard because he heard me playing Earth, Wind and Fire in the band.
Mm.
Nice.
And me and Boyd were friends all the way up until his death.
Wow,
that's the
That's how
story.
long.
that's
And I and
powerful.
hmm I met him and John Bess and this other guy named Vincent. They used to hang out together, and I brought John and them to Gallery
Mm.
before Garage, and
John talked about that here.
yeah, John blames me for him being involved in this damn club scene.
Yeah.
he, he said he says because of me he got turned out.
Mm. Yeah.
Look at that
He
I
trickle
heard
down
him.
effect
I
presented it.
and
heard
how
He
all
him.
that
I
worked.
heard
presented
him.
it.
I heard him. I was after him. He was John was a cutie back in them days. He in high school years. Of course, I had my things out.
There you go.
So wait, Carlos, if I break this down, if you got John and bought John, and he got turned out, and then he bought Timmy, and Timmy got turned out. You are responsible for a whole nother trickle down effect. Let's just.
Well, I used to play at this place called Leviticus
Mhm.
on 33rd Street, and
I've
right
heard
there,
of
around that
Leviticus.
I've
I don't
heard of
think
around
I've
it.
that
ever gone, but
I,
wasn't they announced
that
on
was
the
I had
that
my
was
high.
when the
Leviticus,
garage
right?
that was when the garage was open in the beginning,
Mhm.
and I was playing at Leviticus, and Timmy used to come and stand over my shoulder
Wow.
at Leviticus when I was playing stuff like Sade and somebody else's guy, and Melvin
Mhm.
Moore was huge, and Lilo Thomas, and
No
Mhm.
and
Thomas.
all that kind of stuff. We used to play all that stuff, and
I love.
they used to, and Leviticus was a club where the people came in their suit jackets after work, and they
Mhm.
had drinks. Right, it was a straight club.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had my
So
high
I
school prom there.
so I played. You had just right.
At
So
Leviticus.
I played upstairs, and I started out playing upstairs in the lounge, and I was playing strictly fusion jazz, George Duke and stuff like that,
Mhm.
Idris Muhammad and all that kind of stuff. I was playing different types of stuff upstairs, and I was packing upstairs, so they moved me downstairs, and I started playing, all kinds of stuff that I had learned from gallery and garage. I played in those clubs, and because they were used to playing more funk and R&B, and I played, I was used to playing and breaking new records and stuff like that because I used to get records from the label, and I didn't have to buy a lot of records. I was a KTU reporter, and KTU was big out then.
Yeah.
So I used to write for a magazine. I used to write for Billboard, and I used to write for Discogs magazine.
Nice.
And what was it called? It was see, this is in it's a
Discogs
65
I
year
was
old
getting
thing.
ready to say Discogs has been
Discogs
around
is a
that
thing.
long.
What, like, are
It
you
wasn't
talking about
Discogs.
this?
It was DN magazine. It was a DJ magazine,
Oh, DJ
and
Man.
I was a Billboard reporter. So
Mhm.
in Billboard used to chart dance mixes, dance
Oh,
songs all the time. So they had a top 20 or top 20 lists, and I used to chart for them and play for and chart for KTU.
Mhm.
So we used to get all the records for the label,
right.
you know.
As you should.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to bring Larry records from the first Billboard convention.
Nice.
Before Garage opened, I said a lot of the records that Larry played were my 12 inches.
Right.
Yeah. So until Garage opened, and he didn't need my 12 inches anymore because they was knocking down his door bringing him everything.
I have
Nice.
so many funny comments for that, but I won't say them.
Go ahead, say it.
I'm not. But I did have.
Cause I didn't need my 12, he didn't need my 12 inches. That's what you were talking
I was.
about?
I was.
Yeah,
I
that's
was gonna say
exactly.
It
he
can
didn't
be
need
such a
those
double
12 inches
entendre. I
anymore.
love it.
He didn't need
Oh,
those 12 inches anymore.
oh, he didn't need those. Okay. Oh, yours
Those
took a
12
literal. I didn't mean
My
it
12-inch
literally.
records.
Well, I did.
Oh, see, show how your mind works.
Well, I'm in bed. What can I say?
It's a bedtime story. You know.
Well, I'm not getting that much of a bedtime story now.
Hey, hey.
I'm here for all of it, so
Oh,
let me eat
she's
another
here for
grape.
all of it.
Sin City.
I love
um,
all the stories. The clean
No,
ones, the
I got
dirty
I
ones.
got so many stories. I just don't know where to start.
well, Ian, since you were like Carlos, tell us a story. Tell us a story. I mean, Ian,
Yeah.
go.
Well, when you asked me to do this, because there are tons of stories, right? But the first story that came to mind was related to Funkbox actually, and Voodoo had just passed away. The whole scene was devastated, continues to be, and Sin, or Tony, whoever reached out to me, uh,
No,
asked
whoever
me,
it was in his
whoever it
phone, it was
was,
saved as
my
Tony
phone,
Touch.
That number.
you guys, you guys had asked me to come to play, and it was actually around this time of, well, yeah, it was November, um, right before Thanksgiving, and I really wasn't in the mood, to be honest, to come play, and specifically to come play the party. But I also felt like, in the spirit of the community that we are all a part of, that I wanted to come and pay tribute and do all the things
That
that
was a
we
great night too.
that the club does, right? And so as I get to the club, saying I'm here with my boy, Cynthia's like, "Yo, one of Janet's dancers is saying Janet Jackson, that she might come to the club. And so wouldn't that be amazing, like for us and for the scene, if she came?" And I turned to her and I said, "Nah, we be blessing her if she came." So, I was puffing up my chest and like, because in my mind, I didn't think Janet Jackson was coming to the party. So I'm in a hoodie. I'm just looking bummy. Janet Jackson is my first wife. And and I'm playing and we rocking and the party was bubbling and what's his brother's name? I forget his name now. He came up to me, he's like, "Yo, you got any Janet Jackson music to play?" And I was like, "For what?" He was like, like, "Yo, she's here." I was like, "What?" My wife is in the building. It was such an amazing um definitely felt like Voodoo was in the building. It was an amazing
And she
time.
hung out late that night too.
Yeah, man. Like the energy was so crazy, right? So I'm finishing my set. Tony's on the mic. He's bigging me up. We bigging up New York City, and then someone says, "Yo, Janet wants you to come and meet her." It's like, damn, like I'm all sweaty. My locks are all lopsided, looking crazy. And then I run to the bathroom to wash my face so I can meet her. Crazy night. Tay Diggs is in the building. He's carrying on. Remember that night, sir?
I do.
Crazy. It felt like New York
It was
City.
after Janet Jackson's concert.
It felt like New York City in the '80s. I mean, when I left the party in Brooklyn, I saw two people having sex outside of an apartment building on Flatbush. It was like the '80s. Crazy, crazy night. And so, washing my face, the person that was going to bring me over to check her out, this is in Club Cielo. Shout out Club Cielo. Rest in peace, Club Cielo.
Yes.
And then I went over to go meet her, and she was so gracious. She was into the party. We often talk about like holding the underground in a particular way. I'm always of the mindset because, going to the garage and going to Zanzibar, you would see celebrities in the building. So the underground and the mainstream, that line was really porous. And that night, it felt like, yo, like we are doing it, and folk, in the mainstream are really coming to check what we're about, to get that vibe. And you see it in the music, you hear it in the music. The underground continues to inform the culture, you know. And that night for me, my story is that night embodied why I love doing this. I mean, I could talk about libation, I could talk about a variety of things, but that's what came to my mind because again, all of that I think about with regards to voodoo and what you guys are doing with Funkbox, that night was it. Was it
That
for
was
me.
a great
Like
night.
that was crazy,
And to think you
crazy.
wasn't in the mood at first, right?
Right.
You could have
Right,
missed it.
It's like,
right.
she gonna be blessed by me.
Well, no, I thought she was gonna be blessed by the whole
No,
scene.
she
You know what I mean?
was.
And she was,
Right.
She was.
and she was, and she was.
Yeah.
So that's my bedtime story. So just so really the point of it too is no matter what, like for the people, the party throwers, for the DJs, wherever you are, just continue to do your best. You don't know who's listening, who's watching. You don't know whose life you're impacting, whose life you're changing. Just like, just give, man. Don't be stingy with this thing. It's a blessing for real. We
Mhm.
had. I mean, I was speaking like this because this thing is like church for those people that think like that. It might be the sex club for those people that think like that. Like this thing is all of that. How we come together and how we commune. It's a sacred space.
Our
I've
friend
been preaching
Latina
for a
said,
long
yeah,
time.
James, our
Hmm.
friend Brooklyn Iconic in the chat said, what did my wife say to him? What did
Um, well, we did have my wife. What she said to me. Uh,
Don't get
you
it. Don't
know,
start
you
right
know,
now.
she came in her Jackson voice, very soft, and she's like, I really like what you're playing, and I came back with because I knew she had a show, so I was like, "Yeah, I know you killed it tonight." But I guess she didn't understand, so she repeated what she was saying to me, and I said, "No, Janet, I'm talking about you. I know you ripped it." And all her dancers started laughing and cheering, and it was a beautiful moment. I shook her hand. I was like, "Ooh, hands all small and kind of like, oh baby." But no, that's all. It was a beautiful moment. I didn't take a selfie at all. I thought that was gonna be corny.
No, that's
It,
no. It's good you didn't.
it was one of those times where you just hold the story here. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We New Yorkers, we not starstruck like that. The,
That's
Nah.
the
the
truth.
West Coast
Uh,
is more like, let's take a selfie.
Yeah, well, so you don't want to be the first. You don't want to be the one to set it off, and then other people want to do it, and then they're uncomfortable. They can't
Hmm.
chill, and they're
mhm.
moving. Nobody wants to be
Yeah.
that.
That's
Craziness.
one of the
So
things that
mad.
I love about New York is that we could be there and they could be there and they can be free to be themselves
Hmm.
and to like let loose a little bit and not have to be in that place where everybody's like, "Ooh, I want a piece of you."
You
Right.
know, we're not.
Meanwhile, you get to your phone and you like, bitch.
Right. I
I was
did that
like,
a lot.
damn.
I
Well,
did
that's
that a lot.
great. That was a great story.
That was a great story, both of you.
So
Ow. You
now,
have a
Carlos.
question?
Yeah. Well, not really a question, but more of a just the opening scene. Carlos, 667. What's that?
Go.
667 was a party in Brooklyn that Fred Pierce and I used to do on Sundays. It was a party that was run by KO. Remember K? You know
Hmm.
KO.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we remember he's
Hmm.
still here.
Yeah. And oh my God, what's the other brother's name? He passed away. See, my brain ain't working. So
It's working.
when I have dialysis, I have dialysis 3 days a week. So when I have dialysis, it really zaps my brain cells. So it really does. Um, but they used to run the bar, and they used to call it 667, and we had Sundays, and we used to
Hmm.
pack that place out on Sunday. It was a gay party on Sunday nights,
I remember.
and it was called Rhythm, and we did that for 5 years.
Wow.
And we had that party that block sold up. I think Donna and Tyrone just
Yep.
do another night, and Little Ray,
Hmm.
and we would have guest DJs. We'd have Kenny Carpenter or Andre Collins, and we didn't have that many guest DJs. We were there every Sunday, pretty
Hmm.
much, and it was a phenomenal party. We broke a lot of records in that party, especially
Good
Gospel
time.
House.
Yeah.
We used to have people like Barbara Tucker would come perform, or Kenny Bobian, and you know we'd have birthday celebrations there. And it was It was a little smoky little joint with red lights, you know. But we had a ball in there.
Carlos, were you
That
talking
was
about Maurice Rice?
Marcus.
Marcus
Marcus.
Rice.
Marcus. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you for remembering Marcus. Yes,
Yeah, they were.
sweet
And
was
rest in
a
peace,
sweet guy.
Marcus.
Marcus was
Him and
great.
Ko, together used to run that club, and we had a Sunday night. Fred Pierce and I, and I had great fun with Fred, and we packed that place out. It was like a line down the street every Sunday. It was a phenomenal party.
Nice.
What
Okay.
do you think makes a phenomenal party?
Mm, the venue has to have an owner that understands, a vision.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, if it starts with having somebody who believes in what you're going to bring. If you have a vision and you want to bring it to a venue, you have to have the owner has to be able to work with you and meet you halfway at least. You know, um, I came from the school from where the owners, had a vision, and they wanted the party to be a certain way, and they had membership parties, and they wanted the party, they had their own guest lists and that type of thing. But then they started getting commercial at some point where, it really lost me with the bottle services
Yeah.
when they, the bars and they had to have alcohol and you know, when I partied early on, there wasn't any alcohol in the clubs. They might have had acid in the punch,
I've been to a few of
but
those.
but
What?
they might have had, spike the punch or something like that, you know. But there wasn't any alcohol, and I think I don't know. I just don't like to party when I'm drinking alcohol, because it makes me sloppy and lazy and you know, just sloppy. Ugh. I can't stand sloppy drunks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's nothing.
Nothing
There's
sexy about that shit.
nothing
There's
sexy
nothing
about it.
sexy
Yeah,
about
No,
that.
it's
how
not.
you party off of that shit? How you dance? You can't dance off a night if you drunk, can you? You know
You
somebody
can
that
dance.
dances all night
I
when they.
used to go to parties at like okay, so like Shelter when it was on Huber Street. I used to go to Wetlands. First I would go to Hoboken and do happy hour shots. And then
Uh,
we would go to Wetlands and drink Long Island iced teas
oh,
in pint glass, right? And then take that down and then go to Shelter and dance all of that out,
you know,
right? Because there
you
was no
know
more.
when
But
I
when
felt like I was
everybody
continuing to
can't
do
do
it.
everything.
when I came out, when it was only bars, and they had jukeboxes, with 45 records in them,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't no clubs, and you would go and you put on your favorite records, Wilson Pickett or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Slide the Family Stone and stuff like that. Those were the records that was out in the late '60s and '70s. So you were in a bar and people danced and drank and they danced to the music in the bar. But when clubs came out, drugs came out too. And
Mm.
yeah, yeah, and people moved up in there and from alcohol to other kinds of drugs that made you
Right,
stay up and dance all night.
right.
And I was
Yeah,
Especially like the 80s, probably it was
I
just
was a
like a lot of
product of that.
freedom. Right.
By the '80s, I was strung out on drugs in the '80s.
mm.
I was strung out on drugs in the '80s, and I was crazy. I had to change my life.
Well,
You
you're
know,
looking fabulous
Right.
for it.
Well, at least you were able to, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. Some people,
And
by the time
you
you
tell
guys
that
got to know
story.
me, By the time you guys got to know me, I had cleaned my act up.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I got clean in '89.
It's interesting
Yeah.
that you. It's interesting, like the different perspective, right? Because how life was prior to AIDS and all of that. Because my coming of age was in that era, the tail end really. And so yeah, there was the garage and there was Zanzibar, and then when they started to, and then when AIDS became what it became, then a lot of clubs closed down, and um, there was that little era, a year or two, where there was, it felt like everybody was looking for the next spot, like after '87, like what was going to happen. I mean,
And Shelter was that.
right, but Shelter didn't come on till like 90, 91, so there was that gap. And then there was those smaller clubs like Nell's and MK's, um, where you could hear the music that you liked, but it was in a different kind of setting. And
Yeah, we
so,
were lost children.
yeah, and like the world and all of that kind of stuff. So
We were
really,
lost.
I was at Shelter. I think the first, second night that Tim had done it, I met Tim at Zanzibar, um, and he was, like in your mind, especially in those times, those cats that were on the radio, they were like huge stars,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So he was just sitting there checking out Tony, and he just started talking to me. And then he was saying, "Yeah, I'm about to open up this club." And then we went and checked out the club. But like the energy of the Shelter, especially Shelter 101, because I don't think, I never thought of Tim as sort of a alcohol guy. Like they brought in the energy of the garage, and I just didn't feel like if I was gonna fall in line with the spirit of the party, it wasn't about drinking at all for me. You know what I mean? And so I guess being young, you just had the energy to party, to dance for hours and hours. I didn't really think about liquor unless I went to a reggae party or something like that. You know,
But were you drinking the punch?
I wasn't drinking the punch in Shelter. I drank the punch at the garage because I
Did
didn't
they
know it.
spike the punch at
No,
Shelter?
they didn't have punch at Shelter.
No,
Didn't
I
have
didn't think so.
But
Yeah,
they had other things at Shelter, but not, it wasn't in the punch. If at Shelter you knew if you were going to do something, you knew you were doing it. It wasn't like,
And you
oh, I
knew who to
drank the
get it from.
punch.
You knew who
Right.
to
They
get
were
it
like,
from.
I was going to the bathroom. I know what I was doing.
right, right,
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Not
but they
like,
So,
did,
oh, you drank the punch. That's why you were dancing all night.
they
No.
did have um Kenny, who used to work at Garage. He used to be the concession guy at Garage. At the
hmm,
beginning of Shelter, he used to be concession guy at Shelter. Kenny
right.
Eubanks.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have food and stuff at like condiments and
Yeah,
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
fruits and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fruit.
yeah.
and they had punch, and Kenny used to run that also
Hmm.
until he died. Up until he died.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe when we had Bird on, she talked about that. She talked about how she ended up, doing the food and stuff at Shelter.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question I think this question, and Tony C, you correct me if I am not right. I think it's for you, Carlos. The question was, what was your favorite spot to eat breakfast after being up all night? Was it Tiffany's?
That's a good question.
No, it was the pink teapot.
Oh, I remember that.
Bring teacup,
Pink
Yeah,
teacup,
teapot.
teacup, teacup.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember. I remember one morning going there after with Larry and Larry falling over his grits and smothered pork chops, falling out over his grits and smothered pork chops after a night of playing on that until
I love the
11 o'clock in the day, 12 o'clock in the day.
yeah, I love the pink teacup.
Yeah,
Used to go there all
And
the time.
but it was
Ian,
on
I have a
Bleecker Street.
question for you. This
Okay.
question comes from this guy, Patrick Wilson. Hi, Patrick.
What's up, Patrick?
He wants to know, what does 2021 look like for releases on your label? And he mentions Sherry Hicks running.
Uh, um, Patrick always a DJ. Um,
I'm not mad at that. I
not,
want to
not,
know.
not at all. I mean, what's interesting about, I mean, we're gonna break real. 2020
Is
has,
it?
put the brakes on a lot of things in terms of releases, And so, yeah, I done dropped some joints. 2021, we just coming with the fire. So just look out. I can't tell you no release dates at all. We in the middle of a pandemic, damn it. What the hell? I
At
don't
all.
know. Like, I don't know. Just
They
just keep a
coming. Just
lookout.
wait.
Just keep a lookout. Everything is coming in time, man. Thank you. But
I will say, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, I'm always excited when people are interested in the work that's coming out on the label. I'm excited about the things that's been coming out, and we have a lot more stuff to come. So just keep a lookout. Uh, we in this pandemic, man. We all just trying to take it one day at a time. We up in here with these bedtime stories, and you about to make me not get to sleep tonight, stressing me out about some damn music.
Well, look,
Okay.
No,
don't drink the punch and you can go to bed.
I'm releasing something too this year, hopefully.
Of course
Or
you are.
early next year on
Well, we waiting for
Joe
your joint.
Purcell's label.
Nice.
Yeah, so a Gregory Porter record and Kenny Lattimore
Nice.
and Bobby McFerrin.
Ooh,
Oh, this is exciting.
right.
I want all of this.
Yep.
I done heard some of that.
Mm,
I've been waiting. I've been
I'm
waiting.
excited.
I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty.
COVID happened.
I
COVID
know. I
happened.
know. I know, man. I know. Trust me. I know.
But
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 so
we
I want
but
to know if there
we're
anything else that you want to share with the folks before we get cut off on IG, just to let them know if there's something else that like, are you doing a mix? Is there somebody that you know that does something dope? If it whatever, please share.
And friends on IG, you can come join us on Twitch or Facebook, but we're not coming back
Right.
on IG tonight.
We're not coming back. We're not coming back.
well,
Uh,
my boy Samir Hall is has a label, and he's doing some eclectic music
He's
from
always eclectic.
musicians, you know,
Nice.
and he works a lot with a lot of guys with Chicago with um,
um,
oh my God, my brother's name. I hate that when that happens to me.
Well, it
Okay, we can
it
happens.
edit
It's
happens,
it.
all
man.
right.
Well, there's
Don't
so
stress.
what? There's a lot of great music out there. I will say that. I mean, in earnest, during this pandemic, I feel like I fell back in love with music in a different way. So I've been digging and searching. There's a lot of cool folk doing cool things. I do a Sunday thing on Twitch, Libation Live. We've been doing that through the pandemic. In terms of music releases, yes, there's Cherie Hicks, there's Man Child Black stuff coming out, there's more Byron Morris stuff coming out, there's music coming out. So as much as I, am giving Patrick some grief, because I'm only giving him grief because we had this conversation just on the other day. So he already know the answer. But everything is coming. Yeah, because the music is still important. At least it's still important to me, right? So it's just one of the different tools that I have to express myself and create a platform for cats to get you know, their music out. So Carlos is one of my heroes. I want to say that publicly. Before I even thought about uh, producing anything. He's one of the cats that was doing it at a high level, making music that we would play, and he's always been so gracious and so kind to me. One of my big brothers that have really, like that's the beautiful
Uh,
thing about this community that have, whether or not they know it or not, they just give you that encouragement, like, yo, go ahead, keep doing it. I'm digging what you're doing, and coming from him, you know, because he has all the knowledge, all the history, all the talents, all the skills and the gifts, man, it's like, thank you for blessing me, for encouraging me to
oh
do it.
man, thank you, man.
Appreciate you,
That makes
man.
an old man feel good.
Hey, man, if we can make
Thank
an
you.
old man feel good, then we did our jobs in this life.
That's for sure.
But I want to shout out to Ian because it's people like Ian that help keep me knowing that this music can keep going forward. You know, he's one of the reasons why I still do what I do. I used to be guest spot at his parties in Brooklyn. What
Mm-hmm.
was the name of your parties, Ian?
For the tea party,
The tea party, the Sunday tea parties, baby.
that's it.
The
That's
party was
it.
over
I
at the
know.
at the YMCA
That's right. The
in Brooklyn, Brooklyn,
YWCA.
the
Yes.
YWCA in Brooklyn.
Yes. Yes.
You know, we don't want to associate you with the village people, YMCA. I'm, I want to give a shout. I want to
See, Ian,
give a
you just
shout
want to
out.
pop lock.
I
I want to give a
know.
shout out to my boy Trevor Fox and his wife Aura. You know, and the playground folks. Yeah,
Hey
but
guys.
those are my peeps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brian Polite wants to know if you can talk about the Tea Party and its influence on the Brooklyn arts community of the mid 90s and the early 2000s, Ian.
Um. Sure. 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 A different bedtime story. We started the Tea Party in '94. Um. I'm an artist and an
4 in the
actor.
afternoon, by the way, not
Hmm.
4
Hmm.
4 in the
What you
afternoon.
say? Hmm. I
Four
hear
in the
you.
afternoon.
Right.
For the
Right. I was just
afternoon.
letting folks know 4 in the afternoon. Because they
Yes.
might think 4 a.m. if they don't know.
Mm-hmm. 90, no, no, not four. 94. 1994,
Oh,
we started.
94.
1994, we
But
started the Tea
94
Party.
also at 4.
Yes, also at four. And a quick little tidbit in terms of how that started. I don't know if everybody knows Fumi, right? Fumi,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So Fumi, I used to go to Frank's Lounge after playing basketball. Right, Tuesday night, Brian Bacchus used to play really cool UK soul music. Used to go there chasing a girl, all of that. You know how we do back in the day. And so I had an opportunity. Tyrone and Terry said, "Yo, you've been coming. You play music. You could do a party." I was supposed to do it with. I was supposed to help Fumi out on a Thursday night party. Fumi would never show up at all. I would always play the music, but it was his party. So they said, "Yo, why don't you do your own party?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do a Sunday party." And because I was an artist, an actor, a poet, and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to create an environment that included all these elements that reflected myself, which was a tea party. And so we were doing that out of Frank's Lounge for the first couple of years. Erica Badu, Saul Williams, Jessica Kim Moore, tons of people. It was really just about creating a space where artists and art loving people could come together and they could work on their craft. And that coincided with sort of the Brooklyn arts renaissance that happened at the time, the Black Brooklyn arts renaissance that happened at the time. So we were operating in Fort Greene, tons of creative energy. Um, Again, I've always been operating on bringing people together. Art as the backdrop, music as the backdrop, poetry as the backdrop. But what I'm really interested in is building community. So even if we're doing it virtually like how we're doing it now, the spirit is how do we get people to be in community with one another? Because through community, we could actually get things done. One person can knock on the door of the opportunity, but a whole crew can knock the door down. And we see it time and time again, whether or not it's Red and Brian and Ejo with Soul Gas and Sin, Tony Vudo. I mean, you just see it. When people come together, magic happens. And so my moment in the sun with the Tea Party was having a vision and a whole bunch of people just believing in me. Whether or not it's my mama cooking the food at the very beginning, my sister working the door at the very beginning, and then it grows, and then people come, like-minded people came together. And because I learned from my big brothers like a Carlos, going to places like the shelter, going to places like the garage, that was all in the mix. And I put my sprinkle on it because I wrote poetry, I acted in plays. I was interested in music. And so we were just in alignment, right? Like I felt like in that time I was sitting in purpose, and it became a really powerful. reflection of the times. So yeah, we can name the names of people that, Brian Polite. That's how I met him. He was 18. He was in the corner looking at people dance, like before he put his foot in the ring, and now he's like the professor of dance. You know, um, so it's just sort of interesting to sort of create an environment because as I was introduced to this thing that I love, I wanted to introduce other people, and the Tea Party was like a magic carpet ride for sure. It has informed my whole creative career. Um, we always wanted to bring dope DJs in the mix. It didn't matter if they were a woman, a man, what. If you love the thing, come and rock. And we've been on that, like, the whole sister DJ thing, the female DJ thing. We've been on that since the 90s because it didn't matter. As long as you loved it, as long as you rocked, come through. And we carried that same spirit when I hooked up with Manchild Black to do libation and all of that. But I hope that answers the question. You got me hyped right now. You got me kind of hyped right now.
I love it.
Me too. That's
um, you have questions?
history. I do not right now. Well, I do have some
Well,
questions, but you go ahead.
okay, well, Letheria wants to know, does Ian still dabble in the arts, acting and such?
No, I mean I haven't acted in some time, but um, I am the associate director of a museum in Philadelphia called the Color Girls Museum. That an old garage college buddy of mine, she had the vision to begin um, a museum centering work on Black women and Black girls, and so I've been doing that with her from the beginning, 5 years. Michael Clemens is the curator. We have an education director, Marina Gore. We
Tell
just
us her name.
Vashti Dubois. I thought I said her name. I'm sorry, Vashti Dubois. Um,
Okay.
and so that's how I've been getting my art on in the other way.
Well, on that question, because one of my questions that I had written while you were talking was, you said that you used to do poetry and things.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember any of your poems?
I remember titles. I mean, if you were asking me to perform a poem right
I was just going
now,
to ask you to recite as opposed to perform.
well, you know, I can't do no dry reading. It's still, you know what I mean? Actually, I don't remember anything off the top of my head, and if you had told me, I would have pulled
No,
something up.
Oh,
That's
surely you
a
must
this is
have a
wonderful
all on
short
the
one.
poem.
fly. This is all on the fly.
You must
You
have a
didn't
So,
short
know?
poem.
Romeo, Romeo. Um, no, I actually don't have a poem. I do take that practice pretty seriously, so I wouldn't want to just throw it out there haphazardly. But
Well, tell us the titles of two of them.
I did a poem because it's bedtime stories, and I do like telling stories. So I'm
I
gonna
know.
just do what I do. I'm sorry, Red.
No, don't be,
Um,
because I'll tell you one thing. You and Carlos are the only two people, like we've had other people ask, but you're the only two that we were pairing together that each one of you asked, who are you pairing me with?
right, we usually don't
And I was
tolerate
like, that
that.
just doesn't
We
even
don't usually
matter. We got
tolerate
you.
that shit. We
We
be
got
like,
you. Just trust.
whoever.
We know, and we do have times when we're like, we can't put them together. That's not gonna
Yeah,
work out. We
yeah.
kind of know, we have feelers.
No, we
And
do have to.
Carlos,
well,
I was like, you can't just put Carlos with anybody.
No,
well,
That's
this
not
is a
gonna work either.
perfect pairing for sure. It's
it's
all
great.
love.
I can get with Ian for sure.
Oh, I figured you could. We
All
try to
love,
keep this all politically
all love,
incorrect.
all love, all
And
love.
this is very Brooklyn, baby. It's very Brooklyn.
In the house, in the house,
Okay.
Now
in the
back
house.
to Ian and his poem titles. Don't
Okay,
get
so
got away.
I'm gonna answer how I want to answer. So real quick,
Absolutely.
I did a poem. because that's how I am.
That's
Like
right.
y'all don't know, but that's how I am. So I did. So y'all know my hair is locked. I started locking in the '90s, and I wrote a poem about that process of locking. Right. Um, my auntie, my favorite auntie, hated my locks. God rest her soul. And interestingly enough, there's some portion of Caribbean folk that kind of have a negative viewpoint around people with locks.
Oh,
So she was one of the inspirations for this piece in writing about the process of locking your hair, the beauty of locking your hair. And I remember one Christmas we all gathered, and what we did in our family at the time, my cousin would play keys, we would carol. My younger cousins would, rap or do whatever young people were doing at the time. And I would, do a poem. And so I performed this poem specifically for her. And after which she completely got it. She left me alone. God rest her soul.
I
God rest
like
her
that.
soul. But the beautiful thing about like poetry, I guess, and Carlos could talk about music in this way. Um, like where you garner inspiration from, right? Just capturing it and then working. Words are like notes, right? It's like a song. Like it's not just a journal entry, but it's actually a craft. How you put the words together so you can express an idea
yeah.
in a form. Would you agree, Carlos?
For sure.
Yeah,
You're expressing a feeling.
yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
But not
So I
just for
just
That's
want to say,
yourself. But not just for yourself. I mean, you can do it for yourself,
mhm.
but when you're trying to do it for other people, then you have to be able to pull people into that feeling too. Right?
Well, I'm of the mind that believe that if I like it and I begin to love it, I can get you to love it too.
That's true.
And that's my job as a DJ. It, it's,
Well,
is to groove and move to something you didn't hear before.
right.
yeah.
And I can play a record 3 times a night and you would fall in love with that record if I believed in that record. And you would go home singing that record.
Hmm. I mean, you
That's
Lessons.
can. It's true.
that's your
It's true.
job.
It's true.
It's true.
Is
It's
to
true.
move people, excite them to chorus. Go home
Lessons.
singing it.
One of my favorite Larry stories that I wasn't in the building for, but Kenton Nix had told me when he did Heartbeat. He had done all those faster, as he said, cocaine-driven records that were like 130
When you
BPM,
touch me,
right? All of that.
uh,
And then when he gave Larry Heartbeat, Larry did what Larry did. He believed in the record. He played it, cleared the floor, played it again. People folded their arms, played it about 5, 6 times. By the end, it was broken.
I had gotten that record from the label. I had
Mm,
gotten a test pressing from Mel Sherrin. Sherrin used to call me in the office, and he would play records for me before they were released,
mm,
and want to know my opinion of them. So he
mm-hmm,
played Heartbeat for me, and I knew Kenton, and I fell in love with it the first time I heard it. And I was playing at a club in Brownsville, a little night hole in the wall spot that you'd be scared to come to.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was in
And
Brownsville. Of course, you'd
and
be
let me tell you something. It was a little hole in the wall over a garage over on East New York Avenue. Let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you something. That Heartbeat record, by the fourth time I played that record, the people in that club were melting.
Mm.
They were melting over that record. What is that? What it was? It had because nothing was ever that slow.
Right.
right.
I broke records like Running Away with Roy Ayers and all the other kind of stuff. It had rhythm and beat. That Heartbeat was it was a hip hop on the
Right.
down low.
Sure. Classic. A classic,
Mhm.
a forever record.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Forever
be forever.
record.
It's a forever record.
Yeah.
And
And if you didn't do what you did and the DJs didn't do what they did, that record just would be another record.
And he turned around and did Funky Sensation, which
Right.
was that down tempo funk, and it was just incredible. But I came up with those guys from Brass Construction, went to high school with Randy Miller and all of them, and
Mm.
played in the band with the group that eventually became Sky
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
in high
yeah,
school.
yeah.
So my years in the beginning was like very heavy music oriented,
Mm.
playing in bands and stuff like that. So that's where I hone my musical talent.
Hmm.
you know so I think that it allows you to listen to music as a DJ a little differently. When you have an understanding of the music that you're listening to, you can kind of break it down in a way that someone who just match your beats can't do. You match it lyrically, the music,
You're
and
speaking that other
that's
language again.
that's what keeps me interested in the music. So at home, all I listen to basically is jazz,
Hmm.
and I'm listening to this girl named Candace Springs right now. And if
mm,
you haven't heard her, get your life.
okay,
You know,
Let me make a note.
exactly.
Cand- Candace
And the
Springs with a K,
spring.
Oh, with a K. See? Okay.
and Springs with the S. And it's and the name of the CD is "The Women Who Raised Me."
Oh, dope.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get into that.
So I have a question for you, Carlos. Actually, two things. Letheria's mother says hi.
Hi, hey,
And
Etheria, that's my girl.
then from Brian, be polite. How is it teaching about club culture in college classroom?
Oh, I had a ball teaching that. I taught a course at Pace University called Music, the
Uh,
Underground, and I was commissioned to do that class, and I had set up a class where people could come in and learn about the underground, the music of the underground, and I had people like Louis Vega, Paul Simpson, Boy Jarvis, Freddie, um, Kerry Chandler, um, variety of people, Kevin Hedge, Francois K, uh, the late great Burt Reed from Crown Heights Affair. I had them all come to the class and share their experience about
oh,
what
that's awesome.
what music was about, and before it became disco.
Mm.
We talked about the transition of the band and how they had to dumb down their sound in order to fit the mode of what the labels wanted.
Right.
And Randy Miller would talk about that, and so would Burt Reed and Paul Simpson also.
Mm.
I had all these people at my class, and it was a very successful class. I did it for 2 years, and it was a great experience.
Sounds great.
That sounds great. That sounds like something I wish I was like sitting as, in that classroom for,
Yeah,
you know,
all of it.
It's
because I'm
dope.
Oh,
sure there
and
was some
the class, we
definitely
took
some
trips. We,
gems
we
to
went
be.
we went to the shelter. The class went to the shelter. We went to record stores
Nice.
because at the time I'm a retail. I'm a buyer record. I was a record buyer. So
Uh-huh.
I worked at Downtown Records. I worked at 8 Ball Records. I managed 8 Ball Records. And I I dibble and dabble in a little bit of everything.
Man,
Yeah.
you
All
got the
right.
wisdom.
I've got a couple of things to say. One, Carlos, ironically, you just answered the question that had been posted for you from Ali Coleman, which was, did you take any of the students to any parties? So you just said you took them to shelter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Two, Trevor Fox just joined in. So Trevor, you missed earlier, but Carlos gave you a shout out. Three, on a little light note, Carlos, I have this thing called um, casually fabulous when sometimes you don't plan for something to match, but it just happens. And goatee, beard. Looks
With
like
the
you cut. It looks
sweater.
like you cut a patch out your sweater, and I
It's
can't stop looking when
true.
you're talking. I'm like, it's casually fabulous.
I swear I was thinking that, but not the casually fabulous part, but it is so true. It was just like
What?
perfect.
This
Oh
is
yeah.
gray and this is beige, honey.
Well, from here to
Well,
us,
it's against
This
we're
is
your
all
doing
glowing,
gray.
one
It's
wonderful
thing.
almost white.
skin.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, thank you. It
And
was that
now, Ian, I
it
have a
was
question for you. And my question is, first of all, thank you, Ian, because early in all of this, there's actually still a pandemic, believe it or not. You were one of the DJs I listened to often, and you kept me calm and soothed me, and we would chat on the Instagram, and I appreciate that. It was great. And did you find it as a, somebody played out a lot, not more fun? I'm sure it wasn't more fun because you didn't have the same energy, but easier because you could do more of just what you wanted.
I mean, I try to do what I want when I'm playing live as well. So that part of the translation, I mean, it's different because having people, as we talked about, like when you kind of feel the people's energy, um, it's different, but it's kind of like a weird hybrid. It's like a sci-fi thing. Like we're cyborgs, part man, part machine, um, because though it's virtual, I could still feel people's vibes and energies and personalities with how they typed. I think what made this kind of a little different is that the way I was doing the live thing was I could get on the mic and I could speak to the people, so I could sort of show my personality, and sort of which as a DJ you don't do because you're in the booth. So just being able to engage in this other way, um, I felt like that was important, and even the reason to do it. I thought at the beginning of the pandemic, like I wanted to be able to offer something, and quickly I realized that I was actually getting something. Like that feeling of like you think you're getting on a ham radio and like, hello, hello, anyone out there, anyone out there, and then the people gather, and regardless of the time, if I get on at 3 o'clock in the morning, Europe was there, or Japan was there, or Africa was there, and then you start to like, I've literally built relationships with people I've never seen um, in person, and so it's a different kind of it was a different kind of journey. Um, it was a different kind of journey, but it was in terms of like I love playing music. I love playing records. So, you know, as you talk about Tractor and your part of the journey, I remember being in college playing in just playing for hours. If I had to choose between buying a record or buying food, I was buying that record. I was going to just eat some crackers. You know what I mean? Like, and so right now in this pandemic, what can I do? Like what could I do? Well, I'm gonna do what I've been doing all my life, and I'm gonna play this music, and hope that people could feel it, um, and then get something from it. Like it's
Look,
yeah, you feel me?
I was in a record store Saturday, spending $200 on records.
Yeah.
You know, I
I don't like to go to the record store when he's there, because he's making me buy records.
I said, Ian, I said, Ian, listen to this. This is over. Ian look at me like,
He'd be like, check this out, check this out, check this out. I'm like, damn, kid, I just wanted two records.
he leave out like this, him and Spinner.
Well, Ian,
But
I must say
that's because
that
I'm a retailer person. I used to sell records, so
mm,
it's still in me.
well, Ian, I just want to say to end that part of this conversation that you're watching you play early on, your face said exactly what you just said, that at some point it was also for you and you could see it because you had the camera right on you, and we could just see you. We could see that, but we could also feel it. And so, yeah, it was a really good thing. So what
Mm,
could you do? You did it. You did it. So thank you for that.
Thank you for being part of that. Crazy times, man. It was.
Yeah, well, winter is coming, so just get ready with your
What can I
$200
just
and your,
say? I
your
don't I don't
everything
I don't
else.
really get any pleasure out of playing to uh to a video, but I do have music on Mixcloud,
Hmm.
the Carlos Sanchez movement on Mixcloud. So if anybody wants to go and
Because people are
hear my
asking, are you
voice,
going to get on IG or Twitch or
no, I'm
something
not
or
gonna. No,
something?
no, I'm not.
So my follow-up question is
What
No,
I
null and
did, but
void.
what
It's
I
maximum
did, but
null
class.
and
listen,
void.
but what I did do is I did a Periscope where I sat down. I played something called the Living Room Sessions,
Mhm.
and I played. I have a high. I listen to high end music. I have a high end system in my apartment, and I just put on songs that are easy listening, mellow, jazzy,
Right.
vocals, and stuff like that. And I just sit down and I just put them on one at a time and play it from front to back. And I call it the listening sessions
Like it. So where's that happening?
on Periscope.
Okay.
On Periscope.
I know Periscope. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you
So,
heard it here.
so aren't you on camera on Periscope?
Or what you see is my system,
Okay.
and you see me get up and change the CD
Okay.
and I
And that's
sit back down. That's
it.
about it.
So you giving hand. You giving hand.
You can see me physically get up and change the CD.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Because I'm
Got
standing in front of the system, but it sounds very clear.
Is that at a particular time?
No, I don't. I just do it when I feel like doing it.
So how do we know when you're doing it?
I'll post it
People
on
can't hear.
Instagram
it.
Okay.
Okay.
or
Okay.
Facebook and Facebook. And you
Okay.
could go to my Facebook and log and click onto it from my Facebook.
Okay. Thank you. All
All
right.
right.
Sin.
No, I think I'm about I mean, I always want to know like if there was a dream person that you could work with, dead or alive, who would that be? And in what capacity would you work with them?
Hmm. I would want to work with Janet so I could just feed her grapes. Um, that'd
I think I want to work with Prince.
Mm,
Oh man, a man after my heart.
be crazy.
okay.
Um,
All time favorite.
yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing, amazing people. Like obviously Stevie, but I think about Shaka Khan just in terms of that voice, man. So many, too many, too many.
Well, I can say I've had the opportunity to work with one of the greatest male voices of this decade in Gregory Porter.
Yes.
Mm.
And he is a phenomenon. And I'm just so grateful to have him as a friend. And I respect his musicality, his musicianship. And because I'm a musical person, I'm a musician. Uh, I kind of have affinity for people who are into their craft.
Yeah. When they're
Okay.
real artists and professional and
They take it
you can tell they
seriously
take it seriously. Yeah.
and they study, you know.
Yeah. And it's something to that. Absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, I've been
And
blessed. Go ahead. Go ahead, Carlos.
no, go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just saying that I've been blessed to work with some like incredibly talented cats on this production side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, bedtime story. Eric Roberson at my crib wrote a song with an incredible musician, Maritri, and he came to the crib, home studio. That was a time with the sidekicks. Everybody was sidekicking, And um, so I'm like Young in the Game is one of my like early records. The record that he did everything. We wrote the song. He just had to come and sing. He was on the sidekick, texting, talking on the phone, stopping the session. It was crazy to me, right? Seemingly unfocused, but would stop. No, no, I want to do that again. No, I want to do that again. Then back on the phone and hear what I couldn't hear, like hear what I couldn't hear, and it was like that kid almost like produced his own vocals
Mm.
while he was texting. You feel me? Like that to me just embodies craft at another level.
Absolutely.
Just just at a I mean, and I've been really blessed to work with, you talk about Byron Moore, I mean just Maritri herself, tons of Chris Robb, tons of cats. Once you start naming names, you're like, oh God, who did I not say? Um,
I don't even
but
want to start.
but just to sort of be in the room when we talk about God in the room, like even sitting
Mhm.
on a session with Josh and Kevin back in the day at my start. I mean, like I always shout them out as my big brothers in the studio by allowing me to even touch knobs, which gave me the bug. Just watching Josh on a drum machine. I say this to him all the time, like watching him uh, play drums on the keyboard, like the keyboard sounds on the synth, like a real kit. When I saw him do that, I said, "Oh man, I can't do this. I'm not gonna do this. It's a waste of my time." That's another level. If that's what I have to do, forget about it. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
Um, but then I realized that okay, he's a special cat. So I could do what I do. He gonna do all that crazy. And just really been fortunate to be around cats that love it and do it at the highest level. I mean, I think what I say to people that want to get into whatever they want to art they want to get into, man, you gotta love it because it's hard ass work. The return is not immediate for most people. Um, and you just it's like learning, keep on learning because the learning never ever
Look,
stops.
look, right, Ian. There's
Right?
no money. There's no money in this. Not now. It
No,
hasn't been for a long time.
right.
We do it. I've been at this for 50 years. You know, I do it because I love it. I love the music. I love if I wasn't DJing, I'd still be loving music and doing music some other kind of way.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
It's in
It's
us.
it is another language, and it's a language that you gotta learn. But to learn it, you gotta love it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause you don't see Carlos been here for 50 years. He done seen kids come, and he's seen them go. But
Yeah.
he's still here, and we still here, and
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
that's why this
and
is so
we're
special.
yeah, we're still
I,
here.
oh, I never forget. I went to Rome Anthony's house, Roman Anthony,
Hmm.
and he gave us records like give I'm gonna what's that record, the one that sounded like Prince by
Uh,
Rome
Oh,
Anthony.
the music gives
I'm
you.
gonna give you what I'm gonna
yeah,
give
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Fall from Grace. You ever play that record?
I mean,
Oh, from grace
Roman Anthony is
For
huge.
Father help me, please, as
as
I
I
fall
fall
from
from
grace.
grace.
Oh, he was a genius to me.
Hmm.
And he was to me, he was like Prince, because I went out to his house out in Jersey and he blew my mind.
Hmm.
Blew my mind with his playing, his ideas, and but he was eccentric, and we just lost him too soon
Hmm.
Mm.
because
Hmm.
he had a lot more to give. You know, um, I seen so many people come and go in this industry.
Hmm.
So many DJs and friends, and I lived through a Holocaust of AIDS. the AIDS Holocaust. That's what I call it,
Mm-hmm.
because it took so many people that I knew and loved,
Yeah.
and it's amazing that I'm still here. I was just talking to Kenny in Italy early this week. On Sunday, I think it was, I spoke to Kenny, and he was talking about he was coming back to New York because, his DJ life is over. He said he's coming back and getting him a job, his old job back. He said, and I can't imagine. I understand if you were like Ian and Louis and Spinner and these people who made their life making money around the clock. You traveled a lot. You guys travel. I stopped traveling because I have medical issues. I can't travel and as much anymore. But I can understand you doing these shows and stuff like that to keep your juices flowing, because that's become your livelihood. And I'm just grateful that I always had a second job. I always was doing word processing at a law firm or for years, or I was always, I took a course on a drug rehab on how to be a counselor, and that's what I do now. And I'm able to work from home, and I'm just grateful that I had the foresight to know that I need to have a plan B just in case.
I mean, every creative person needs a plan B for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this in terms of that, because I know both of you guys read Cynthia, you guys promote events. I mean, this is a sobering time in terms of that as we knew it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so
Yeah.
Kenny coming back to New York from Italy, like,
He's
isn't
been there 22 years.
it isn't a surprise, but it's really sobering, when you really think about it. And I'm hard pressed to imagine things going. I mean, people are throwing parties now, but I'm hard pressed to
I'm not
imagine
going.
I'm not going
how.
and I'm not throwing. I'm not going and I'm not throwing.
Right.
Nope.
So I'm hard pressed to imagine how, on one hand, like how we go, what's going to happen around the bend. Um, but part of, like, just to answer what you said, Carlos. Um, yes, it keeps the juices flowing, but it's like it's part of who I am. So it is my offering for the time. Am
Mm-hmm.
I going, am I hoping to live stream, forever and ever? Amen. Just right now, just looking to be connected to people, and this is just the tools that I have at my disposal. Like, right, I'm not even in New York right now.
You're on
Uh,
the beach.
yeah, I'm chilling on the beach right now.
You're on
Uh,
the beach with the palm trees. I'm jealous.
But the water's not moving.
I
I
know.
know, ain't that a bitch?
Well, the one that does is paying attention to the bedtime stories. The one is asleep right. But yeah, man, Kenny coming back and all the things that we know. I mean, these bedtime stories are important because they serve as an archive for this culture. All these things. I've been checking y'all out for a minute, so I just want to big y'all up. Uh,
Yeah, it's really great. I really enjoyed the shows. I've been watching them.
because all these
Thank you so
stories,
much.
Thank you. Yep.
our stories
I've learned a lot.
our stories need to be told because they reflect an important aspect of art and culture that doesn't get told. Like, there's not a lot of books out there that really talk about things. I mean, yeah, you can talk about the Garage and Larry, but from then to now, there's just
It's a whole lot more than
a
that.
whole lot
Mm-hmm.
more.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
And we're
stories.
only scratching the surface, so we got to keep going
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we've only scratched
Yeah,
the surface. We
I,
haven't even
I
gotten through like the original list of names that we sat and brainstormed. We haven't even gotten through that yet.
we didn't talk about Grandmaster Flowers, LaBoya, you know, all the Brooklyn DJs used to bring out big sound systems. the Jamaicans used to, the Caribbean-based people used to bring out those big sound systems,
Yeah.
and we heard bass galore
Sure.
from, they had sound systems before I even went to the clubs. They was playing
Right.
at Beast Beach
Mm.
and
Yeah.
doing those outdoor parties in the parks and stuff like that. This is way before hip hop.
And see, that
Flowers,
means that's
flowers.
way before my time, which is why we need people like you to come on and teach us and tell us
Okay.
Absolutely.
exactly why.
Absolutely.
Big Bob knows.
Well, Big Bob definitely knows. He was there.
Hmm.
Well, I just want to say thank you both for being here and joining us
Yes.
tonight and sharing with us. And I'm sure that once we get through the list, we could probably revisit this again too. I want to
Yep.
do this again.
Oh yeah, this was
So
dope, y'all. So many stories, and now it's time for bed. I think.
I'm watching TV. I'll be
Uh,
watching some
I'm low
TV
key
until
doing the pee dance over here.
I'm laying on my electrically heated blanket. So
nice.
I'm feeling
I
all
had to open the windows because I'm 50 now.
Woo,
I get hot.
yeah.
you get the flash, girl.
Not all the way, not yet, but it's coming. But
It's coming.
it's coming. I'm just
Well,
getting, like Cynthia said, I'm just scratching the surface.
yeah.
But I have one final question, and my question is: so, Carlos, you can sing.
Yes. I was a voice major in high school in music and art.
Will you sing one note? One line.
You want me to sing a line?
Look,
Sing bedtime
I
stories.
ask you in the
So
pop lock and
bedtime stories
I asked
tonight.
you into pop lock and to a poem. So I'm just putting you on the spot. You don't have to do anything.
I
But I kept it
want to
up
hear
because I
bedtime
was like,
stories.
so he went to school for this. Mm,
Well,
mm.
Hmm.
I'll sing on Spirit of the Dance, not
Go
Spirit of the
on.
Dance. I sing on Flying High. Got to
Well,
keep on.
remind us of that line. Remind us.
Some folks run and hide on a single vibe, trying to survive the madness.
Nice. I
Oh, that made me
love it.
happy. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
That
awesome.
was fabulous. That was better than that bedtime story shit I was trying to
That's awesome.
I wrote that with
Thank you
Boyd,
for
and
that.
I wrote that with Boyd Jarvis, and I recorded it with Joe Closell. That song,
I remember. I got it on vinyl.
"Got to Keep On."
That's awesome.
Songs that have something to say. It's important.
Hmm.
Thank you for that.
We always need a song that gives a word.
Thank
We
you.
definitely do.
Well, fellas, I guess, our time this evening is coming to an end.
It's bedtime.
And now it's my turn to sing.
Thank,
It's bedtime.
I thought you were gonna sing the Cabernet song. I'm so glad we had this time together.
No, we're working on our own theme song. And so every week
Okay.
I try
Right.
to
So
get in just
everybody
that
that's
line.
a
But there are
producer,
there's
So maybe
there's like two lines.
maybe Ian and I can write a little three minute
that would be
jingle.
There you
awesome.
I
I
wrote
go.
it
want
There
already.
you
I
go.
got the words. Let me see if I can find my words real quick. Because Sin was
Wait
like,
a minute. Wait a minute.
oh, you know what? I didn't
I
write the
got one
words.
question. I
I made
got
a
one question
voice thing.
before we go. I
Go.
got one question for our hosts, since they put us on the hot seat for this whole
to.
time. Because I think of y'all as producers of events. How long have you been doing that?
Right.
Well, Soulgasm just turned would if we were able to celebrate, we'd be having 15th year celebration.
Okay.
So just a little bit before that.
And
I
Funk
was
Box.
I was doing well Funk Boxes since 2008, but I actually didn't join Funk Box until I moved back from Florida in 2010. But I was doing parties before that with Ray. as early as like 97, 8,
Mm,
around here.
mm. So, what turned you out to be an event producer? See how I flip this? You see how I flip this?
Love it.
Mine. I could tell you easily. Mine was happenstance,
You
and
dance.
I was asked by Ejo to co-host for him while he traveled, and I had already been my actual day job was working in uh, broadcast production and marketing and stuff like that. So I knew how to promote something and to market something. So when I came in, I used those skills to like bring people into the party. And by the time Ejo came back, Brian Cox was like, "She can't leave now. We've got to keep her." And
Mm.
so that's how that part happened.
So you
Aha. You
turned them out.
created.
You turned them out.
No, she created her own. She created a job for herself.
You
See,
did.
Yeah, I
now
like
I
that.
got to do that again. So,
That's it.
Cause you the
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So for me, I was doing doors for Ray like part time, like on a side hustle for many years. Like Voodoo Ray would call me and be like, "I need you to do the door," or "Who do you think? Who do you think is I should put on for such and such? I'm thinking about doing such and such. What do you think?" And we used to spend a lot of time brainstorming and doing that. And like I really started doing them on my own because I was working in nonprofits and like learning how to write grants and stuff. And then I wanted to use what I learned in that world to help all my artist friends. So, because I was like, there's a need here for all of these wonderful, talented artists that are the shit to connect to this corporate money because
mhm,
they want what we have.
right.
They want that and they need that. And I realized that like most artists are really great in their craft and they're good in their talent. They're good, DJs, they're good musicians, they're good producers of music or artists, painters, whatever. But although they excel in that, there may not be able to, present themselves in a way that could be presented in a professional manner, or they may not be the most professional, or they may not know how to communicate via like different manners. They may be socially awkward. That's a lot of things about artists, especially talented ones, you know? So I
Mhm.
kind of wanted to support them and
Right.
drink and work at the same time.
You ain't never lied. You ain't never lied.
Really, I started doing it full time because I wanted to be able to pick up my daughter from school every day and not have to send her to a babysitter. You know, that's really what it was. That's why I started doing it full time because I
Well,
was
how old
like,
is she now?
she's 17.
Wow.
She's 17.
Wow.
There you
Yep.
have it, folks. Origin stories.
No.
Mhm.
Blaming on the boogie. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Well,
That's dope.
So I guess on that note,
on
it's
that note,
bedtime.
time for
Thank
you and me.
you.
Time for
Thank
us to
you.
sing.
Thank
Thank
you. Do you
you.
remember where you met me, Red?
Do I used to come to 667. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I remember. I
Okay.
remember you
Did,
coming there.
did I meet you before that?
I don't know.
You got a
We
story?
might have seen each other at shelter.
Oh, I'm sure we saw each other at shelter.
Yeah.
But it was
But
all a
I
blur.
met you like to talk to you at 667.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't that a fun party?
It was such a good time. And when you were talking about it, I was picturing the room, that long room. We would just go up and down that, just a lot happening there. A lot.
It was just fun.
It was
It was
fun.
just eat, drink, merriment. People were wonderful. It was
Yeah.
just, it was a scene. It was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm tired,
All right.
y'all. I'm way past my bedtime.
Yes.
Well,
Well, thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Ian. Thank
thank
you,
you,
Carlos.
Carlos.
Um,
Yes.
I'm Sin Rose,
And I'm
and
Red.
Bye, Sid. Bye,
and this
Red.
is
This is
bye. Good
Bedtime
night,
Stories.
Good
everybody.
night,
Thanks to everybody that
everybody.
hung out with us
Hope
till
hope
so
hope to
late.
see you
Thank
in
you,
person in the
Betsy.
world
Thanks,
Betty
Pat
bye
and
bye.
Rachel
soon.
Menton.
Ian,
And
Ian, I'll see
thank
you
you,
at
Tony
Cosmic
T.
Arts.
Okay, brother.
You know
I'll,
you
I'll,
Oh,
can't
and
stay out
look,
of that store.
I'll
side
come with my wallet.
side note, Mr. Ian, that has some connection to the Colored Girls Museum. Me and Cynthia are colored girls who are doing something artsy right here. So you just keep that in mind. That's all. So
Hello.
putting that
Hey,
out there. Just putting that out there. Okay.
we're in community, so holler at a brother.
Okay.
All right.
But thank you both. This has been awesome. And thanks to everybody that stayed up with us. And now it's bedtime for everyone. So,
Yes.
Good night.
good night,
Good night,
everyone.
guys.
Right. Good
Bye bye.
night.
Bye bye. Bye bye.